stand up and get ready to take a blow. You have the confidence that you can accept the blow.
As a point of interest, none of my men wear protection when doing. None.
After all, you wouldn't want your attacker to get injured.
That hurt my foot.
And there we are. We are live. We are live. When the lights go down, we go live. Welcome to Big D After Dark on this beautiful Monday evening, especially after a weekend like we just had with FC Dallas, a big win at home against Colorado Rapids, and then, of course, North Texas SC with a big win against Colorado Rapids too. Thank you for joining us tonight. Tommy is going to be with us, but he just jumped off. He'll be getting back on. We're grateful that you are on with us, and we want you to know that we will take your questions and comments about this past weekend's action live. What questions do you have about the team? What did you see that you loved? What are you hyped about? And what does this team still need to work on? We're going to be getting right into it here. And of course, I'm Nathan Hill at Nathan J. Hill on Twitter. There is also, on my left, I guess, is Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. Also is Ishmael Belcora at Belcora Isma on Twitter. And there is Tom LaBeouf at Tom_FC Dallas. Good to have him back with us. We missed you last week, Tommy.
Hey, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that. Just some commitments I had.
I mean, but I think so. All right. So, yeah, questions, comments, chat them in, send them in. They'll shape the show tonight. This is one of those shows where we just get to talk about a lot of fun stuff, a lot of good stuff. We do have some comments and some quotes and clips from postgame with Coach Nico Estevez, Brandon Servania, and Jesus Ferreira. We'll get to those in just a few moments. But right away, let's just start with our reactions from this weekend of soccer, focusing on FC Dallas, and then later on we'll talk about North Texas SC. And Tommy, I got to tell you, Tommy, you have been one of those voices in the FC Dallas Twitter world that has been noted for its criticism. And all of a sudden, I see you posting, trash talk, basically, to our opponents that we down. I mean, it really feels different, Doesn't it feel different watching this team this season?
Absolutely. It's nothing to complain about, really. I mean, yes, they didn't play that well, but give Colorado credit. It's not that FC Dallas played bad. I thought that Colorado just came out and had a good game plan. Sometimes that happens, and the better team won. I mean, I take that back. I didn't say that right. Sometimes good teams finds ways to win when they don't play well, right? And that's what happened. And They found a way to win.
That's good. So, yeah, a 3-1 win at home against Colorado Rapids. Jesus Ferreira mentioned in the post game conversation with media that FC Dallas was quite aware that Colorado won the West last year, that this was the top team in the West, a very well-coached team, a strong roster, even if they have some challenges, some issues here and there. And really, they came out to play in that opening 45 minutes and gave FC Dallas everything that they could handle. You could argue that FC Dallas was lucky just to be facing a 1-0, deficit, kind of going toward that halftime mark. They could have given up 2 goals, 3 goals, if a guy like Rosenberry had got something on target, But also, FC Dallas managed some ways with their defense. And then it was all about Brandon Servania, that miracle from midfield, as I'm calling it. and then a strong second half adjustment and a brace from Jesus Ferreira, which was super sublime. I'll show some clips as we chat. So let's just get talking about our instant reactions, our reactions from the match, what we saw out there, what we loved. So Jose, we'll begin with you.
Well, you had to like the scrappiness that you saw out there. I mean, they were completely outplayed in the first half. It was very frustrating to watch. Basically, Colorado coming out there and exploiting the gaps between the center backs and the fullbacks. There were some wide gaps that they were taking advantage of, and honestly, they had basically Dallas pinned back. It was like you said, very fortunate. Some would say that we weren't down by more than one goal, but at the same time, I would like to point out that Paz had a fabulous match, 5 saves if I remember correctly, and he's one of the reasons that there was only one goal scored on FC Dallas that day. And honestly, if there's ever been a match that says, "Hey, we should buy this guy ASAP," that was it. That was his statement performance. I would say that proves that this short-term loan should conclude with a buy option for him. Uh, and then, of course, you got to say that this goal right here by Servania, I mean, that's just a dagger. I mean, you're the Rapids. You've been dominating. You're up 1-0. You're going to go in a halftime with a 1-0 lead, and then that happens. That was basically right there. That was the full swing right there. FC Dallas went into the half knowing that they could play better and were even. And I think that made that shot right there pretty much is the reason Dallas won.
It's a beautiful shot, incredible goal, and it just saved FC Dallas's Heine. I mean, they just were struggling, and just what a jolt of confidence, at that point in the game. Ishmael, tell us about your reactions from the match. Oh, you're muted. You're muted there, Ishmael. That's all right.
I do want to say that Ferreira should have had a hat trick, which would have been insane. To have back-to-back hat tricks just would have been amazing.
All right, Ishmael, there you go.
Yeah. Sorry. So I actually missed like the first 20-25 minutes of the game. So I didn't have the luxury, I guess, of seeing us getting dominated for 45 minutes and then the beauty of Servania's goal. What I really liked was the halftime mentality switch. That was the biggest thing, because although I wouldn't say we controlled the game the second half, there was a lot more, like what Jose was saying, was grit. Like we say that there was like grit in general in the game, but the first half, I mean, that was not good. That was really bad. And I mean, they were like kind of stout defensively, but just 50-50s in the midfield. I don't think I saw a single 1-1 when I was watching the first half.
Mm-hmm.
And just the mentality switch in the second half, and you can say it was Servania's goal, but if there wasn't not only a formation change but also just mentality change in the second half, we wouldn't have won that game. And we might have lost it. So it was just that kind of mentality did not exist last year. And I could actually make the argument that it hasn't existed since 2016. And it's really refreshing to see the team just play like as a unit and just fight for each other at low points.
Tommy, what were your reactions from the match?
Well, it was a little disappointing, but also, it wasn't like it wasn't like a disappointment in the past years where you felt like there wasn't talent on the field. There was talent on the field, but they were just just going up against a team that was really prepared for Dallas. And I caught in the game that they had played four in the midfield and three in the back, and I think that was just a different thing for FC Dallas. There was a chance that was early in the game that I think O'Brien had a nice pass to, I forget who it was, and it just didn't go in the goal, and that might have changed the game. The refereeing was really strange. I thought there was a lot of fouls and yellow cards that were maybe unnecessary, but then you wonder, like, sometimes why Martinez was really playing so harsh on the attacking end to get that yellow card. Jesus Ferreira, he's showing that he's not only a nine, but he's a very good nine. He's a very talented nine. That one touch shot to the corner was top notch. I mean, that's
Mm.
that guy is,
Agreed.
he's very valuable for this team. And I want to say I never doubted him when he wasn't scoring. I can go back and prove it. But I think one thing I noted is that Velasco's still not making a difference. He did it. He had a nice goal and every stuff, but he's still not on the same page with the team, and that's understandable, being that he's just learning to play with these guys and learning to play with bigger guys. I think just give him a little bit more time. He's still not quite there, but you see that there is talent with his touches and everything. And the other thing is that Matt Hedges got hurt. Tafari came in. We were also playing without Areola. I thought O'Brien, he was typical O'Brien. He wasn't as much. I don't remember the offsides like he had in past games. So there were some things that he does good, O'Brien, and that's this touches in the final third. He had one nice touch in the final third that could have been a goal. And but when the team got ahead, it was a different game. So I mean, we got to give him credit. That second half was all FC Dallas, in my opinion.
Good. Looks like we lost our buddy Ishmael. Well, here, and we'll link him back
He'll be
in.
back.
As soon as he's able. Um, I agree. So we already got a good comment here from our buddy Todd Chatterley. Thanks for watching, Todd, as usual. Conversely, Nico's game plan sucked, and he got lucky. He's got healthy, excellent players. And I saw our buddy, our Big D After Dark alum, Ben Lyons, who we miss, and we miss his voice on here, but also said
Hey,
that
Ben.
that Nico got outcoached, which I don't think is. Welcome back, Ishmael. I don't think it is untrue that really in that first half, Nico got outcoached, and
Yeah.
it looked like they just weren't ready to adjust, and the team just couldn't get the ball out of the midfield. It was not pretty.
But isn't that a
he did-
sign? Isn't that the sign of a good coach that he clearly got out coached in the first half, and then came out with a plan B, and totally flipped the table on them. And you could say that he then out coached his opponent in the second half. And this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen him make adjustments, and the team play completely better in the second half. And that's a good sign. That's an issue that I think we had to point out. We had with Lucci, where the team came out and, 60 minutes later, they're still playing the same. And Nico, at least Nico, you can see that he's making significant alterations to the way the team is playing. I believe what they did is they matched a 3-4-3 formation right off the get-go. So you're both able to visibly see what's going on, and also see how the team is playing differently, and it's obvious. It's like, wow, they've made changes.
Yeah,
Holy crap.
but I think there's the formation switch was just dropping Sirio deeper, and
Cirillo was
I mean,
basically a third center back.
yeah. That was the play, because it's just to match Colorado. That didn't have to wait for halftime, and I mean that was
I do agree.
my like Lucci is not a good baseline to be like, oh, at least he's better than Lucci's tactical adjustments mid game,
talking about
because that's
adjustments,
a
yes.
low bar. And I mean, that's so again, there's the concept of we dominated the second half. I think is a false equivalency because we dominated like the first 15 minutes, but came out really strong out the gate, and then the rest of the second half, Colorado didn't dominate like they were in the first half, but it was a scrap, and Colorado could have had goals if they just put on their finishing boots and if Palace wasn't very good last night. So again, I think the mentality switch was very good, and I was thankful that even with Hedges having to be dropped in halftime, um, Nico still had the decision making like idea of like matching Colorado. But I think if it was gonna be dropping Cerrillo just back a couple of yards, that had to be done in the first half because we got lucky with the 1-1. It could have easily been 2-0,
Well,
and
Right.
it would have been a much more
like
difficult game to bounce
like
back.
Ben's pointing out that they hadn't trained for it, so it's basically they had to discuss it at halftime and say, hey, this is what we're going to have to adjust to make this happen. And they had to basically spend the entire half saying, okay, this is how it's going to work. And I know we haven't trained it, but these are your responsibilities. And it basically, it's something that adjustment that they seem to have made on the fly. And that's a good sign that, like you said, that he is able to trust his players to carry through on it.
Yeah,
And I do agree that it is concerning that it took a full half to make those adjustments.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one play that didn't get out coached. That was that set piece. Um, that was no luck of the draw. That was a practice play, and he set up Velasco as a decoy on that direct kick. They gave it to Velasco. The defense focused on Velasco and left Brandon Servania open. And I don't know if everyone knows, but he's got a great shot. I've seen it before, and he's got a great shot. And that wasn't luck. That was a planned play, and I give the coach credit for that. That was a drawn out play that changed the game.
I mean that's
I
not going to
don't
happen. Yeah,
I don't agree that they were on their heels the entire uh, outside of 10 minutes uh, because Colorado basically once Dallas scored their second game, you could just see the air start coming out of them. And I say, it was more of a scrap than any team dominating. And I think like me, I'm one of the guys to say, oh, we dominated second half. It's not that we dominated; it's that just that we played so bad in the first half that
Yeah.
we played so good in the second half. Okay, we didn't dominate, but it was an even game, and better moments came FC Dallas' way. And it should have been, by the way, in the second half, they should have scored more than 2 goals. So,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
pardon me,
I
that
felt
doesn't
like
sound like domination.
yeah, I felt like Ferreira left Hara wide open on that goal, and it was just funny to see Hara's reaction when he didn't get the pass and Ferreira hit it right
Hmm.
to the goalkeeper. I mean, you could just see the expression on Hara's face, like he really wanted it, And I don't know, if they were joking with each other after or not happy, but he really wanted it, and he was hustling to get there.
Howard's
Well,
a pure goal scorer, and you want to see that. You want to see him wanting the ball.
Yep.
Go ahead, Ref.
let's go ahead and jump over some post game comments from Nico, the head coach, and Servania and Ferreira. I got to ask Nico a couple of questions there, and of course, one of the down kind of parts of this was that Matt Hedges went off at halftime, did not return in the game, kind of a precautionary measure. So I asked him about that, and I also asked him about that right back situation because if there is that position that we're going to come back to that Ishmael has been perhaps on the right side of history on. It is this issue around how do you deploy Nanu, and because I thought Tuamasi was excellent as he came in. Of course, game state, all that stuff factors in there. So I wanted to ask Coach Nico about that just to see if he could give us some red meat to feast on as we think about that right back position. Let's listen in. Two quick questions here. First is an update on Matt Hedges' injury going off at halftime. What's his status? And then about the right back position. it seems like there's a real battle there between Nanu and Emma. They both bring different skills and energy to the game. Is that a week-to-week position battle? What are you looking for in that position?
Well, on Matt report, he fell a little bit sore in the calf, and we take out just for prevention, but we'll need to test him and see what's things he can and examine him better to see if he's a major injury or is a minimum injury or is not an injury. But we didn't want to take risk. And on Ima and Nanu, in our team is a day by day or game by game position for everyone. It's not a position for anyone. And I think every player fights for the week to get a place.
Every player. Good news about Matt Hedges, and it sounded like I read some elsewhere that he was, walking around at halftime or post game, and he wasn't in a boot or anything, or which is good news. But then, I think Esteves, Coach Nico's point there is like, hey, it's a week to week battle, a game to game battle for these players to claim a spot. Ismail, I want to get your reaction. I mean, we talked about it, I think, last week about this Obrian Nanu right side. Jose said, I wasn't planning to have a beer or whatever during the game, and I just couldn't resist when I saw that lineup. I mean, it just didn't work. That Nanu Obrian right side, it's not a great deployment. Even though Obrian does switch around some and everything, it just seems like it's just not the right combination. And you bring in Tumasi, and it just seems like his defensive ability is a gift to lock down the game. What did you feel about that right back position from this game?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to try again to be completely objective about this. This was probably Farfan's worst game. And although that is a high bar, it was he had a lot of issues. I'd also put if you want to put blame, which is not something that you should do most of the time on goals, but if you're going to put blame on a player for the Colorado goal, it would probably have to be Farfan and Martinez not communicating, because Farfan pushed up, Martinez didn't know whether to commit to Barrios or not and leave space in the middle, and then indecision led to Rubio having an easy shot. It was a pretty good finish. But yeah, Nanu doesn't work with Obrian. Now, we've seen Nanu play with Areola, I think 1.5 games, maybe. So we don't have enough there to say whether it does work or not, and we assume that it does because Areola is very much a winger that goes inside. He's not on the touchline kind of thing. But, I mean, I'm sorry. It's just two speedsters running on the touchline, losing the ball at every opportunity against a pressing team like Colorado is just a recipe that is doomed to fail every time. And I mean, again, we can't say that Tumasi would be an improvement, but I think we can make that assertion. Just it's the decision making by Nanu and Obrian on the wing is so frustrating on the attack, and then Nanu doesn't give much defensively. There was a play where I think it was Rubio, where just 5 or 6 touches, he passed Nanu 3 times. And I could not understand it. And then the same play happens to Tumasi the minute he comes on, and Tumasi gets the tackle in. Again, it's unfair to make comparisons on these kinds of situations because they're not equivalent. But there are expectations, even for attacking fullbacks, to be able to defend. You have to have that ability. And Nanu just doesn't seem to have that. So I don't know, man. Yes, training might lead to so like Nanu winning the spot again, but just based off this game, I think you need to give Tumoasi the opportunity to play against an even higher pressing team in the Red Bulls. Because if you play Nanu and Obrion against the Red Bulls, the highest pressing team in the league, that right side is just going to be annihilated, and there's that will likely lead to a loss just off of that side.
And
Is that a
I just
rant?
want to.
I think that counts
I
as
just
a
No, but
want.
rant.
that's good. I mean, I
I just
think
want.
you got a point. I think you got a point.
No, and I want to add that I agree with everything Ismail said. I think uh, to be more specific with the two speedsters, these are two guys that go wide. Both of them go wide, so they're getting in each other's way, and they don't work well together. They're not the best. They haven't. They're not the most accurate of passers. Where, like he said, Areola likes to cut in, so he's out of their way. So he's not in Nanu's way when Nanu's is going wide, and he works well with Tuamasi, who can go inside or outside. So I would say you're starting to see where maybe it's a situational start, where against certain opponents you should start Tuamasi, and certain opponents you should start Nanu. I think that's basically what it's going to come down until there's separation, because we don't know what's going on in practice. And if Nanu is starting over Tuamasi, are they hoping that he's playing better? And according to the coach, by the virtue of him starting, that means he's outplaying Tuamasi in practice. So there must not be much separation there. So I think it's going to come down to situational where, like Ismail says, against a team like Red Bull, you would think that Tuamasi should be the guy starting. So I agree
Yeah.
with that, and I'm thinking it's going to be a situational where we're going to see these guys basically jump back and forth, and one starts for several stretches of games, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head. Is that the situational starting? Because like look at the finishing from Colorado, it was terrible. I mean, imagine rooting for that team and having those kind of shots go over the goal, right? We had that the last 4 years, right? So Tomasa came on and he helped because we had the lead and he was able to keep the ball, right? That's one thing he excels at. You can't take the ball from him. He's so strong. I
Yeah,
didn't think Nanu had a good game at all, and it was just like O'Brien. And the other thing, they were trying to play out the back, and they kept lobbing it to O'Brien, who was covered by a much taller guy. That wasn't working either. So playing out the
Right.
back, I
Right.
mean, um, coach is going to
Oh,
get all that fixed, I have no doubt. And I think we see
Obrian is not a
Areola.
target striker. I mean,
Yeah,
like, it's just
yeah.
that was, but that was also, I think, the exasperation of the team. Hey, well, let's flow with that, because one of the questions I asked Jesus after the game was just about the frustration. In that first half, it was clear the team was frustrated with each other. They were frustrated with the ref and some of the calls that were uneven. Although I don't want to criticize the ref too much. They have a tough job. Um, but the slipping and sliding on the field, like it was wild. So I asked Jesus about that, kind of how they kind of maintain their cool. Let's listen to.
Yeah, I think that in those situations, everything is mental. Obviously, you see body language. Some guys are mad, are upset. That's out of our control. We can try to talk to the ref, influence him a little bit, but at the end of the day, that's him calling the fouls, him calling the plays, and so we have to respect that. As of the field, obviously they're having the same issue. We're playing in the same field. They're slipping, we're slipping. So we can't blame the field because of our passes or our stuff. So I think that we just have to stay mentally focused, mentally strong, and that's what happens when we stay, strong.
Jesus, well trained in short and sweet answers in media.
You got him all right.
But yeah, you sense the frustration of the team with just a lot of things, a lot of chatter with the ref about the uneven calls, but the field conditions were really unusual, as our buddy Ben points out. I can't remember when I've seen that much slipping on that field.
I agree.
True.
Yeah,
It was
Agreed.
weird.
terrible.
It
It
was
was
like
bad.
It was a big issue.
Paxton kept on slipping the whole night.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we tried to tease that out in the post game, but no one ever said anything really. Like I was like, is this going to lead to a conversation with the field crew or what? Like what was up with that? It was
You would
weird.
think you got to think it's the cleat selection. I mean, there's ways to compensate for that.
Yeah,
And
I mean, they play on that field every week. I would think they're wearing the
yep.
same cleats as before. I think that maybe they watered it too much before the game. I don't know.
I want to point out that there was a stat put up on who scored, saying that O'Brien and Nanu had 0 times dispossessed, but no one's saying that they were getting dispossessed. It's those heavy touches. I mean, they can't control the ball. I mean, I want to say somebody here was saying, hey, why isn't Nanu trapping the ball? Why the possession with those two was horrible. uh O'Brien's passing percentage was 58%, and he only touched the ball like 12 times, and that's because he couldn't control the ball. Same thing, I'm just saying, and that's just two guys that are basically going vertical, trying to basically catch you on those long balls. And there was one of the problems that we had is how do you counter a team that's basically exploiting your wide gaps? Well, a little possession would have helped. There was almost, I can't remember any time in the first half where we had more than 6 or 7 passes connected where we say, wow, we're maintaining possession. In the second half, that happened once, Tuamasi and Ariola came in. Then you actually saw passing going on and possession. And I think I posted something on there, maybe on Twitter, and said, or I don't know, it was in our chat, I think, where I was like, wow, what is this? Is this some actual possession going on here? And that's something that these guys, both being verticals, they're not trying to pass. They're trying to basically get the ball and go. And that when they're both doing the same thing, it just kept stalling that whole attack on the right side. And then of course, I think Velasco, um, we noticed, was basically dribbling too much, to the point where he was getting dispossessed. I think he got dispossessed 6 times this game, and we're like, he'll learn that he can't get away with it with certain players. So I wasn't at all disappointed with his play, but it's just he's 19 years old. He's got to learn the league. He's got to learn what defenders he can do that against and which ones he can't. So, but
Yep.
the whole point is with the vertical guys is they're not looking to make that pass go. They're basically just go all the time, and it really hurts possession, and it's really obvious.
I'm also not a big fan of Quignon coming in and playing holding mid.
I
That
think
foul. I
I
mean,
think we were all talking about him. Good
oh,
call.
And we need the guy to be a veteran presence, and I agree with you, Tommy. I think
Is it,
And,
is it just me, or is this new for this year? He didn't seem that brash last year.
right.
Like
I
maybe
think
maybe
he
it's because he
was
played
actually.
like full games, but I don't know. I never like he comes on and he does like 3 crazy tackles. Just
right.
He
I
was
don't
actually he
understand.
was, but the difference is that he was making those tackles, so they went unnoticed, and now he's like missing them. He's clearly,
So form,
a
yeah.
second. Yeah, it's form. He's a second short, and I think I was arguing with Ismail on the chat because he was saying, hey, that was a foul, and that stupid foul right in front of the top of the box, and I was like, well, it wasn't a foul, but the
It
other
was a
guy,
foul.
I disagree. I believe that the guy sold it. He felt contact and he fell, and
Both
it
things can
wasn't a
be
foul.
true.
Yeah, I don't think it was a foul, but Quignon, as a veteran, should have known that that's exactly what the guy was trying. Because I was saying that the Rapids were setting up. They were basically uh, they were selling those fouls. I mean, look at where all their fouls were happening. Perfect on the perfect corner, right where you want it to be, atop of the box. They were situational places where they were trying to draw fouls, and while I could see a young player falling for that, and we did see Pax and some of these other guys foul them in certain spots where they wanted to be foul for a set piece. Quignon is not supposed to be one of those guys. He shouldn't be making that tackle in that spot because he should know that that player, as soon as he feels contact, is going to fall, and his slide, whether it makes contact or not, it's going to be a foul. So I don't think it's a foul, but that's a low IQ play from Quinones, and that's concerning.
Right.
It
Yeah.
was a foul.
Yeah.
But okay.
All right. Well,
The ref says it was, so you're right technically.
all right. We got some other things to move on to, but I did want to get Servania's little post game comment, because one of the things they end up asking him about is his brother's. His brother had a goal that made ESPN top 10, and so there's some hope that Servania's Brandon's goal will also make top 10. But to listen to Brandon talk about that goal and about the game.
Yeah, no, it feels good. It feels good to get a goal. It's been a while, and more importantly, it feels good to get the win. It was a little rough in the first half, so I think that goal kind of helped us, shift the momentum, and then we, moved a lot of things around at halftime, and we were able to, adjust and then perform a lot better in the second half, as you saw. So it was a big time win, and glad to get another 3 points at home.
I saw your brother scored a pretty good goal. It's on SportsCenter. Do you think you might join him with that when you had to?
I don't know about SportsCenter, but yeah, it was awesome to see him, score that goal, and then obviously, in the family group chat, he was talking trash. So I had to tell him I'm gonna get one too. So I had to match his. So it was good.
Yeah, the match is good. Some good interfamily rivalry there. That's great. It's great. And I had to go look up that goal, which I'd forgot about, which was a good goal too from his little brother. But yeah, Brandon has had a great start to this season. He's probably one of the more consistent players. Maybe some of the stats don't point that way and everything. I've seen some of our Big D Soccer, we have write-ups on player ratings, and I'm always surprised about how they rate the players stat-wise and things. But I feel like Brandon has been one of the engines of the midfield, and so that goal was just incredibly stunning, and it's good to see him get rewarded for his hard work and his effort, and hopefully he has a few more coming in. Is in y'all's opinion, is that a SportsCenter top 10 kind of play?
I just want to add
it was very far away. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to add that it should have been. It should be, but if you've watched the voting for goal of the week, I think it's coming in third, which is just ridiculous.
Nonsense.
It's
he is going up against the Olympico. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's so. I think Charlotte FC fans are the new Atlanta United fans. So
yes,
but yeah, it's a very good goal. It should be goal of the week. It is in SportsCenter top 10. I think it's already been decided.
excellent.
Just do it again, and I want. Hey, Acosta scored a great long range goal, so I want it repeated.
That's right.
I don't know.
And mind you, he had another shot that looked great and was basically saved, that forced a save.
Yes,
I think it was
he
deflected.
did, yes.
And that's the difference, is you see when he does shoot, you see the trajectory is a solid trajectory, and it has good power, which is something that the trajectory was always an issue with
Acosta.
moonshot Acosta. So
I still got my GIF on here somewhere of that shot. But anyway,
Yeah, but pulling the Uridi arrow thing, I was like, really? You want to go with a Uridi celebration?
That's what he's been
You're
doing.
better than that.
He's been doing that for a while. That's
Yeah,
what
he
he
has.
actually,
Okay.
go watch Chum Chats, which is Johan Gomez and Tanner Tessman. They're a little pod, and they bring on different academy players and friends. But they had Brandon on talking about the season, and they asked Brandon to do a special celebration. And I think they couldn't decide on one, but I think Brandon just thought about doing the arrow. So I think that's what that is. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
that's also the chat where Brandon Servania said that the goal was to win MLS Cup this year, if I remember correctly. So, because they asked him how far can this team go, and he said we're taking it. We're going all the way. So
Yeah, he did
it
say
was
that,
great
yeah.
to see it. It was great to see that confidence. He's playing with that level of confidence. I think we can all agree that Servania is a transformed player this year, where you could argue that before this year he was just a young player who was talented and was trying to be part of the team. But this year he looks like a grown man who has basically made that next step, and he's playing. He's playing great. He's playing. I mean, he's everywhere. I mean, we were talking. He's, you know, his box to box play is just sensational, and if he adds scoring to it, I mean,
Yep.
that would be great. That's you already have. You already have, the three-headed attack with Ariola, Velasco, and Ferreira, and if defenses have to start worrying about Brandon Servania too, look out.
And we're just kind of waiting on Paxton too to have that game that he's capable of, where he unlocks a goal or two. Yeah, it gets really interesting, yeah, and I agree with Buck. Thanks for watching, Buck. The timing and impact was really important for FC Dallas. It's the kind of goal that you might look back on over the course of the season and say, man, those were some big points. Those were important points to build confidence, build momentum, all those sportsisms that I talked about on Big D Soccer today. And yeah, and Cerrillo, he's been good too. He's doing his work, and he's not the most flashy player. He's not getting the acclaim of some other folks, of a Chara or an Alonso, but he's doing his work, which is what we need someone in that position to do. Well, let's shift over. We need to talk about North Texas SC. North Texas also welcomed Colorado Rapids to Choctaw Stadium, and going down early as well. It seemed like a disappointing start in some ways. About 35 minutes or so, they gave up a goal to Colorado and looked a little bit out of sorts, but managed to pick up a draw foul in the box late in that one as well. Blaine Fury stepped up, got the tying goal, and then in the second half, the adjustments from Coach Ka and the team were pretty amazing. A goal from Hope Avayeu, and then also from Kamungo. Excellent goals, solid performance overall to lock down another 3 points at home. North Texas SC also off to a strong start once again, and keeping that, as Jose, as you pointed out, a unbeaten record at home against MLS2 teams. Is that right?
That is correct. This is their fourth year now without a loss to an MLS2 team. 3 years they went unbeaten in USL League One, and they carried that into this. That's why I've been saying, when people say, well, who's your top teams? North Texas has to be one of those top teams, because they simply will not lose at home. There's only maybe 3 teams that I've seen that could come into Choctaw Stadium and walk out with a possible 3 points, and that's on the Western Conference. There's more, but they're all over on the Eastern Conference, and we don't play them at all. So the only 3 teams that I would say look like they could walk into Choctaw and have this kind of style and the kind of play necessary, and the kind of veteran presence to possibly walk out with 3 points or at least a draw, and that's St. Louis SC right now. I mean, that's basically an MLS team parading as a reserve team right now. Believe it or not, Houston is the only 3-0 team in the league, and they have the best defense. They have yet to allow a single goal. Only team so far to do it. 3-0. They're probably gonna be 4-0 coming into North Texas in 2 weeks, by the way. So that's probably gonna be a battle for number 1, by the way. They're a team that plays defense, and they have scored a set piece goal in all 3 games that they played, and that's how they play. They play defense, then they get the set piece and they score, and that's what you have to be able to do to be able to beat North Texas. So Houston is a danger, and then the third team is Tacoma, because they're a veteran team. They just barely lost to St. Louis over the weekend, 3-4. They're a high scoring team. Of course, you saw that North Texas got a draw against them in Tacoma, so you saw that they're a very good, solid team. Those are basically the three teams that, of all the teams that could walk into North Texas and have a shot at walking out with 3 points. Everybody else is going to take a big L, and that's different. The reason for that is in USL League One, independent teams would play bunker and counter and play for set pieces against North Texas. Any team, and I'm not bragging. I'm just pointing this out. I'm not making this up. Any team that wanted to go toe to toe, goal for goal with North Texas was begging to have 4 or 5 goals scored on them. And so teams refused to do that. The only teams that were willing to do that were Miami, Inter Miami 2, and Toronto FC are the only 2 teams that I knew that were willing to trade goals and had the kind of talent that could go back and forth with them. There's not a lot of teams like that in USL League and in MLS Next Pro. So if you're gonna have to try to bunker as best as you can and not concede any goals to North Texas, and they're weak, mind you, North Texas has a weak defense. But to come at that defense, you're gonna have to open up, and then you open up to all the attacking tools that North Texas has, and they have one of the best attacks. 7 goals in 3 games. That's tied for second most goals in the league, with other high-powered teams like Tacoma and Miami, Inter Miami, which has a great attack.
Yeah,
So,
their finishing was really good.
Yes,
Really good
yes,
finishes in final third.
and this, if you're going to try to play open, back and forth, let's trade goals. You may think you're winning, but that's the game that North Texas will beat you in. You need to force this team to basically play you got to play defense against them and then beat them on set pieces. And that's the tried and proven way that the USL League One teams. So that's what I say here at MLS Next Pro. It's a blessing for North Texas. There's a lot of teams that don't have the necessary talent or the necessary, not talent, but team build in this season to do what's necessary to beat North Texas. And North Texas is going to win a lot of games this year. I'm not saying they won't lose games. It's tough to win on the road, so they will drop points on the road. But at home, they have one of the best home field advantages. 3 losses in 3 years. And those were to Union Omaha, the year that the first year, I think, and Chattanooga. Red Wolves did it twice this last season. So only 2 teams have been able to walk into North Texas and beat them.
Good stuff.
That's it.
I mean, if there is one thing, though, Ishmael, I'd love to hear your comments on this. You may not have a strong opinion, Tommy, you too, but I love how this team is playing, but I do wince a little bit that our 2 of our first-round draft picks are stepping in and playing with them. And you kind of wish, and Bartlett's been good as center back. I think he helps that team a lot. But you kind of wish, maybe FC Dallas should have picked somebody else. Could have waited on him a little bit further. Maybe he could have been a second-round draft pick. Isaiah Parker, I think, is getting good development minutes. And we knew he was going to be a project from the beginning. But Bartlett's the one that's he's good for MLS Next Pro, but it's not the best sign that he's, not fighting for first team minutes when they use the first round draft pick on him. But hey, maybe I'm just being nitpicking there. He's helping the team. He's helping the whole franchise with this performance down there. And the other piece is that I wish some other guys would get some minutes in the interim too. I wish Siki would get some minutes just to continue to get him in shape, or Elmedkar or others, just to use that time to help them kind of get in rhythm so that they could be used to the senior team. Any thoughts about that? Do you agree with me?
Well,
totally. Yeah. Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
Well, I think first off, it might have been better to select someone besides Bartlett, but I think, again, we can't really discredit the choice because, Parker's there right now. Of the top 10 of the top 10 picks of the MLS Super Draft. I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them are playing are starters in the second teams for the MLS teams. So I mean, it's going to come down to opportunity. He was never meant to be a starter. With Hedges, Martinez, and Tafari playing very well. And I mean, Quinones wasn't just a decision that they made in the offseason. It's someone that they've had scouted. They had the discovery rights on him. They used a young DP spot, a young whatever it's called, that new thing.
U22.
Yeah, U22 spot. But I mean, I think as a whole as well, like when we're talking about team building and like roster choices, the the core of the group is one that I think is important because as time goes on, the older players will start to like drop and like give minutes to younger players because again that's what the point of the second team is. So as the season progresses and as the team continues to gel, Wallach is going to start swapping minutes for Nikki, for Daniel Hernandez from the academy, from Lacerda, the Portuguese player from Alverca. Um, and as time goes on, Bartlett is going to give time to Amadume, who hopefully progresses because although he had a rough first outing, he's 18 years old. He might give minutes also to some of the academy prospects like Starnes and there's another one that I'm forgetting. So I mean, it's good to have a core, and that I think that's important. Like I think there is a slight amount of rotation because I think we all expect Mulatto to become the starter, uh, right? Because I mean, he came on and looked very dominant, and he is a Bayern player for a reason. And FC Dallas didn't agree to the loan transfer because they had the idea of giving him minutes and then sending him back to Bayern. They are hoping um, that he might become a first team player, like getting loaned to FC Dallas next year. That's the idea with this loan. It's not just to give him minutes, or else Bayern would have sent him to Bayern too. So, um, like the roster will shift. You're gonna get more players getting opportunities. Uh, as far as El Medkar or Siki, I don't think El Medkar, Siki, or Redzik are gonna be on North Texas. It's unlikely. Redzik already has a personality to him that I think his ego would be hurt if he was sent down.
He'd be a
Um,
Thomas Roberts.
yeah, like a
I
little bit of a Thomas Roberts. And you don't want to do it, especially when you have the opportunity to send him on loan to Europe with his European passport. Um, Siki, I'm still advocating for Siki minutes. I want Quignon to stop playing. And I know most of the subs for the midfield have been defensively minded, but like I want Siki to get his minutes. Um, and Khalil, I mean, he beat out Shun, so it's more likely Shun gets dropped to North Texas than El Medcar right now at this point, which is also extremely unlikely. So, um, I mean, just it's going to be interesting because this team is going to get injuries, and the academy players are going to get opportunities. I just love the idea right now that like of the core, Santiago Ferreira is a starter
Right.
during Dallas Cup and GA. That's
agreed.
incredible because
Agreed.
last year when the starters for North Texas were like some academy players, including um, Corcoran. I think Che wasn't signed to North Texas at this point.
No,
Um,
not the year.
so like you had these players who are with the academy. They were sent down for that week, and I remember North Texas suffered. They're not doing that with Santiago. Like he's a full-fledged starter with this team, and I expect him to get a contract, a North Texas contract, in the next 3 weeks. Because if they don't, that's really weird.
Yeah, actually, I agree. I think Santi, who, by the way, uh, isn't heralded like his brother. He's not a player that everyone goes, oh yeah, he's an MLS guy. You got to sign him. And he's basically he was invisible the first week that North Texas played, and he's basically improved every week to where last week, this last game, I mean, he was basically doing a Servania impersonation. He was everywhere. He was everywhere, and he had a tremendous match, and he showed, I think, what you want to see. Dallas likes to put players in tough spots and see if they will adjust and raise their level. And you're seeing that from Santi. Santi has raised his level, and he looks like he belongs. Not only does he look like he belongs, but he looks like he can be a difference maker on that squad.
Good stuff. All right, good stuff on North Texas. I mean,
I want to add
Oh,
one more
go ahead.
thing,
Sure.
because I know you're lamenting the fact that some players aren't getting minutes. That's not going to happen until U.S. Open Cup is over. That's where these guys are going to get their minutes. Elmed Carr, Redzik,
All
all
right.
those guys. They're not going to come down until after U.S. Open Cup is over. And as far as Shun, if he's not going to play at all, they're just going to loan him to Europe. He's a guy that can go to Europe, and you want him in Europe at a higher level than the reserve league. Also, I want to say that I've heard that the U.S. Open Cup has scraped the international player limits, by the way, this year. So there is no international player cap. So you could see a guy like Mulatto loaned to FC Dallas and be your third center forward starting in U.S. Open Cup. You could have a guy like Quignon starting in U.S. Open Cup. Players that we would say, oh no, there's a limit. We can't play those guys. Oh yeah, Shun could play, Quignon could play. These guys are going to get minutes in U.S. Open Cup because, from what I hear, and I don't,
All right.
I haven't
Interesting.
verified it, but what I'm hearing is that that's what's happened. Is USOC for this year has scraped the international player limits, and that's going to lead to some very interesting players that we would not expect playing there.
Is Sean hurt?
No.
Sean I think it was a bit banged up early, but it's not that he's hurt. It's just that he's been called into the Hungarian national team a lot, so he's been back and
He
forth.
hasn't been here. Yeah.
And mind you, it's a new system, and if you're not here to learn the new system, a guy like El Medkar and Redzik, who are here every week, they get a step up on you, and that's basically what's going on with Shun.
That's been a big surprise because last year I thought he showed that he can do some things that we're not seeing on the field right now.
But then again, you've got Velasco starting over there, and the only playing time is available is on the right side, really,
Right.
Yeah.
and so that has hurt Shun.
An Open Cup is coming up. FC Dallas did draw Tulsa FC, and it'll be a home game in Frisco. Yeah.
Wasn't it Tulsa? Didn't we have an affiliation with Tulsa in the past? Because I know.
Yeah, Jesus.
We had it with Oklahoma City Energy, but we loaned players to Tulsa.
Yeah,
it was
we
never
have
like
loaned
an
players to
official
Tulsa.
agreement.
But you're right, it wasn't an official one. But we did loan players to Tulsa, and that's going to be amusing. In all honesty, I'm pumped for it. I'm happy, by the way, that it's going to be in Toyota. I never cared for the SMU TCU campus games.
Like,
play it, play it in at home or play it in Choctaw. Give it that big time atmosphere.
Yeah,
Tulsa Roughnecks, baby.
It's not Tulsa Roughnecks. It's another bland rebranding done by U.S. Soccer just to suck the soul out of soccer culture.
It's we must make it sound European.
And I like Tulsa.
They could have done Roughnecks FC. Roughnecks FC would have been a great name to change it to instead of Tulsa.
But I think they got to be a little anyway. Whatever. But yeah, I like Tulsa has a nice left back. Gabby Torres is his name. Could be an interesting prospect for some MLS team down the line. Decent, and has made the team of the week for USL Championship 2 or 3 weeks in a row. So he's been an active player for them.
Yeah, I mean Tulsa is a well-run team. Their head coach, which if I'm not mistaken, I just want to confirm, yeah, Michael Sien was interviewed for the DC head coaching job and has been like he's been going around maybe throwing himself into those circles and has gone far into like those kind of interview processes. So, I mean, it's a well-run team. They're generally consistent since the rebranding. They've been pretty good. They have like you said, that left back is very good, but they also have um a strike like a center attacking mid called DaCosta that's been dominant in the league for the past year and a half. Um, and I'm looking at their roster now. Moloto and Bourgeois have been were very good for multiple USL sides over the past couple years. It's a good team. It's not going to be easy. Uh, yeah, it's going to be mostly reserve players. I don't think Mulatto will get loaned up because he doesn't even have a starting role on his belt for North Texas SC, and this game is next week, so
This is
they
true.
probably won't. And if you don't start Redzik even in the Open Cup, I think he will he will get angry. So um, it's probably going to be mostly the bench players. Um, yeah, it should be a fun game. Open Cup is always fun.
Yeah.
Thank God it's back.
All right.
So Tulsa
Okay.
is 3-3 on the year, and
Yeah.
they've yet to win. I think they've yet to win a road game. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think we should be. We should. It's not. I shouldn't be like New Mexico United. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
We
I
have a
was going to say,
road game. It doesn't
if we
matter.
could, I hate to change the subject, but just to go back, I didn't say this earlier, but FC Dallas has
Yes,
done all
please.
the right things this year, and there's something going on in Frisco, and it seems to be catching on. And there was a big crowd at the game. You know, everything they're doing right now on here, and there might be some kind of improvement to the north end. There was something that Peter had posted, and he heard a rumor about them doing something in the north end. It's just a big applause, though. I mean, I've been very critical of the team over the past years, but I think it's been justified. But I have not been critical this year. I think it's been very, very good. And I want to say it seems legit right now. I got to wait for the whole year, but props up to FC Dallas.
You heard it. You heard it here. You heard it here, Tom.
But but I think you got to go to the signings. I mean, the team has whiffed on so many signings in past years.
Right,
Have
right.
they whiffed on any signings this year? I mean, you
Well,
could.
Bartlett, I mean,
That's a draft, and draft picks take time. Tafari didn't do anything his first year, if I remember correctly. So they get like a 1 year pass. The draft picks do. You know,
yeah, yeah, I
they,
agree. I
they
agree.
so I don't have a problem with Bartlett.
Siki was a
Uh,
great find. He's getting minutes.
Siki- yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm talking about
Oh,
signings, not
signings.
draft picks. I
Velasco, I think
mean,
the door is still open. I mean, he had a nice goal, but since
but
then,
but
still
I'm
a
talking
kid.
about
Still a kid.
but I'm
Yeah,
talking about we've had some signings where they come in and we're like Quignon. You come in and you're like, what's this guy doing?
yeah.
There is no signing like that so far. It's early.
Right,
It
right.
could still turn that way, but even the guys that were iffy on are still getting starting minutes or significant minutes. Like
Nanu
Pass.
Nanu,
wants to jump in and say
Nanu
something about
isn't a.
Nanu. Yeah.
I'm just saying Nanu isn't technically a bust yet. He's starting.
No,
He's beating out Tuamasi. It may not once Tuamasi becomes a starter and relegates Nanu to the bench for good.
but
Then we can
I
say.
love
Then we can
Pass.
say. Then we can say, okay, he wasn't a good signing, but right now they seem to have
Yes.
hit on all their signings. Is what
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah,
at.
yeah. Especially Pass. I mean, what a great keeper he is.
Yeah, there's been a lot of efforts. As Ben points out, they hired a marketing professional that knows the Dallas market. So I
That's right,
think
Ben. Agreed.
they can.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to wrap up the show. It's getting late, even
I
in
got
Central.
another beer to go.
I know. Well,
Just kidding.
take your time. The night is young, but let's. FC Dallas will travel to Harrison, New Jersey, to play New York Red Bulls, who are a solid team as you can get in MLS,
With
a
a high
pressing
press.
team, high press that they create a lot of problems for teams. It's going to be a tough one. Away matches are always tough. and FC Dallas certainly is going to have its hands full as they attempt to deal with the Red Bulls. What are you happy with coming out of this this match this weekend against the Red Bulls?
I mean, you got to say that you want to see them have a point and be pushing for 3 points at the end of the game. That's what I want to see. It's not about it's how they look. It's we want to keep seeing this improved play on the road. We want them to play better than they did against Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
We want to see improvement. We want to see what we've seen at home travel. And I think that's what we're all going to be looking is we're hoping to at least come out of there with a point. And if let's say it's a draw, there's two kinds of draws. Did you stink it up and you're lucky to get out of it with a draw, or were they lucky that you only left with a draw? And I think that's what I want to see is I want the 3 points. We all want the 3 points, but I will settle for a draw where Dallas was pushing for that win.
Okay. Ishmael, what do you think?
Yeah, I want 3 points. Let's make
Yes.
Carlos Coronel make that same stupid mistake because that was incredible. My God, I mean I've seen some goalkeeper gaffes before, but I don't understand that one, and especially at that point in the game. So make him make that mistake again. Again, this is a pressing team. We cannot go out the same. We cannot start off the same way that we did against Colorado because the difference
Agreed.
between Colorado and Red Bulls, even though they both have garbage finishers. Klimala is not good, and I mean Rubio scored, but he should have had another, and he's not very consistent. So they have bad finishers, but they will press you in to oblivion, and that will eventually create a goal chance that's like 0.5 xg that will probably go in. So we cannot come out the same way we did against Colorado, and I think Nico knows that. This will actually be an interesting tactic, like his tactics. He will be interesting because it's not like Colorado had wingers and wing backs who were pushed very high up to react to that press. Red Bulls is the opposite. They will press, but they have like 4 midfielders that are like compact, almost like a diamond, but not really. They have like one that's higher up and then 3 that just press and then drop. So the way that he'll react has to do with tactics is going to be different, but it cannot be as passive as it was against Colorado because Red Bulls will punish you, and you just have to capitalize on the mistakes that like Coronel does. But there have been other gaffes during this, the week before they were leading 1-0 against the Crew, and instead of going into the corner and wasting time, they do a garbage cross and then don't stop a counterattacking play, and the Crew score in the 90th minute with 10 seconds left in extra time. So they make mistakes. They are very good because they beat Toronto 5-1, but they make mistakes. So capitalize on those and be prepared on the onset.
All right. Tommy?
Yeah, what I want to see better is better playing out the back. It was pretty bad this past, but past game, but give Colorado credit. I think that we will see a lineup change. I'm guessing that Hedges will not start, and I'm guessing that Tafario will start, and I think that Ariola will probably start on the right side. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's Velasco's role to come off the bench, because one thing we've seen from Nico is he likes to have somebody come off the bench to be an offensive, change, and that was Ariola this past week. He came in, and when he came in, it was a different game, right? So it might do Velasco some well to sit a little bit and come on fresh when everyone else is tired, but maybe not. But we'll see. I just want to see them play better out the back and not the lobs to Albrion. That does not work. And the other thing I want to mention is real quick is that FC Dallas went against Colorado. They were much bigger than FC Dallas. I think that's something that FC Dallas is going to have to put up with every week. They're not a big team. They don't have these big players but they do have technical finishers with Jesus and Velasco and Ariola. They can finish. I'd rather have that team than be rooting for Colorado.
All right.
Agreed. North Texas plays at Quakes 2 on Sunday. Quakes 2 is fields a very young team. We're talking, half their starters are probably going to be academy players. Now that sounds like a bad thing, but the Quakes has a really good academy. They're a top 5 academy. One of the few teams that I believe is capable of going toe to toe back and forth with North Texas if they choose to. Uh, so there's a very legit chance that Quakes at home can get a win against North Texas. They're but they're a very young team, very inconsistent, very talented. Should be an interesting game. I think North Texas can walk out of there with a draw, probably a win, but they got to score early. If they get the win, it probably sets up a huge showdown with Houston, who should come into North Texas 4-0 based on
All
their
right.
opponent next week. So, yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, you heard it here tonight. Big matchup this weekend for both North Texas and for FC Dallas. A lot to watch for. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Thank you for your comments. Remember to subscribe wherever you find podcasts. We'll upload the audio for this one. And, of course, if you miss one, just listen in and catch up with our chatter and our conversation each and every week. Good night, everyone. And go FC
Good night.
Dallas.
Good night, guys. Go
Watch
FCD.
Jacob.